issues around medical treatment are different and yet have overtones that affect the euthanasia, as the suicide issue. So what am I saying? It's not the same thing to withdraw treatment as it is to inject someone with the lethal drugs. But when we start deciding in the culture that someone else's life is not worth living, someone else's life is not worth protecting or attempting to save, when there's actually some good that can come of it, when we are actually imposing this on a family. So let's say you have the family saying, we want to have our child continue to live a little longer, and they're saying, no, we are not going to provide that basic care. You know, when you have that type of a situation, it affects the issue because now suddenly we've decided that person's life is not worth living. And essentially that's what euthanasia is about. Let me give you another example. So let's say someone's had a major motorcycle accident as an example, and they've had a major head injury. And the head injury might be quite serious. Will that person ever be as they were before? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe they won't be ever as they were before. But their body is alive and they're going and they have some brain function going on, and their family who loves that person says, I want to see if the best that could possibly come of this. Well, there's been some miracle stories that have happened. And of course, there's been many cases, of course, where the natural death did occur, and that was that. So my point of it is who am I to decide whose life is worth living and not living? And that's what it comes down to with this. But I don't want to conflate the two, because once you start lethally injecting that child, now you're not only saying that child's not worth living, but we're going to actually outwardly kill that child. That is one more step. And sometimes they say, well, that's just a little step, Alex. And maybe there's just only a little step at that point. But nonetheless, it is one more step. And some of these decisions are very difficult. So we're not going to argue that. That's absolutely correct. Some of these cases of babies and children or adults in these very difficult health conditions, some of these people are not going to recover. That's true. And they're going to die a natural death. That's true. But I don't think it's the right of the doctor just to impose something based on feudal care theory. Now, what do I mean by feudal care theory? Feudal care theory means that we're not going to spend the resources on that person because we believe that's a waste of money, and we'd rather spend the money on this person because we think they have a better prognosis, and we're going to decide, not you. The interesting thing is that when the child can be transferred and the family wants to transfer that child, that should be done, because who is the state to decide that they are now in control? It would be a totally different situation is if you have a child who is going to suffer extremely by the transfer. Let's say that there's proof that by doing this transfer, because of the process of the transfer and everything, that this child is going to suffer so extremely by it, and the possibility of the benefit is so low that why would we do that? That's one argument I can understand. But when a family is wanting treatment and someone's willing to provide treatment and they're denying it, that to me is very wrong, because they are deciding for you. So they are then saying the state now controls your life. Transfer that to the issue of euthanasia down the line. You now have a terminal condition and you've become incompetent, and someone has to make a decision. Do you want the state now to be in control of your life? And these are the kind of precedents that I'm trying to always fight against. And that's fundamental.